On this episode of Game Shack, I'm going to install and review the AtGames Legend Pinball Arcade Control Deck. Coming up next. Hey everybody, it's JDV here for EvilGeniusEntertainment.com. Thank you for stopping by the Game Shack. It really does mean a lot to me and everybody here at the company. A quick plug for our reanimated zombie series, which episode 4 debuts this weekend on this channel. So if you dig horror movies, if you like zombie stuff, please check out episode 4 of Reanimated coming out this Memorial Day weekend. That would mean a lot to us too. All right, so let's just jump right on into this installation video and review. A couple things I'm going to be looking at are what's the quality of the controller itself? Will it interact with CoinOps X and some of the other things that come with the ALP? Is it worth the $200 you have to pay? Does it offer good value for money, or should you wait until Customer Appreciation Day when this thing will, in theory, be $100 again? In terms of installation, it is a very simple install with one caveat, but at least in terms of taking out the old controller, it's dead easy. 4 screws on each side, 3 screws on the lock bar. Take those out, take them out, and it will pull up very easily. Now be very careful that you do not rip either set of cords out as you do that, because they are a little tight in there. Once you have disinstalled the original control panel, putting in the other one, at least for me, was pretty easy. It's an exact fit, so that's good. Now instead of reinstalling the sort of white connector bracket that you had on the original control panel, you will be using a USB cord that you'll find inside already in the machine. Now the instructions, which are very good, say that this is going to be on the side of your machine. I found mine taped to the bottom. That's no big deal, except though that in my case, the USB cord was just a little too short to fit comfortably into the control panel. I suppose I could have got it in there, but I did not want it to be tight, and I certainly didn't want to rip it out if I ever did, say, install another control panel into this machine or have to take the control panel off for any reason. So I went ahead and used a USB extender cord that I just happen to have. So what that is just a male end and a female end, and that just serves as an extender. Now I used I think a 6-foot cord. Really a 1-foot cord would have been enough, but it's what I had laying around. I think it only cost $5 or $6 off of Amazon, so it wasn't a big deal. And then you have to be sure that you reinstall or reconnect the haptic speaker wires. And that's just, it's pretty easy because it's the exact same thing as from the other panel. But again, that wiring is going to be tight, so you cannot just put this control panel anywhere you want. You almost want to have a stool or a second set of hands to kind of hold the control panel up on the machine as you're connecting these wires. So what about the build quality of this control deck? Well, it's very good. I mean, it's simply put, the trackball is just smooth as butter. It really is excellent. It's much better than the trackball I have on my ALU, but mine's one of the original ALUs and had taken a beating from the previous owner. So this is not a come down on the ALU, but it is a thumbs up in terms of build quality for the trackball on this unit. It is great. The buttons, 6 of them, are very clicky and responsive, just everything that you come to expect from AtGames. The joystick is a little stubbier than the normal joystick that you'd have on their machines, but that's of course because you don't want that joystick to interfere with the overall aesthetic of the machine and the play value when you're playing pinball. In terms of the joystick, this setup interfering with the pinball game is one of the things I was worried about. It's one of the reasons why I didn't install a joystick into my DIY pinball game. But as it turns out, those fears were unfounded. You don't even think about it when you're playing the pinball game. And because the joystick can be used as both a left, right, and forward nudge button, that's kind of cool. If you want some other way to nudge forward other than reaching forward on the game or really hitting the game hard, that's a way to do it. And you can pull back on the joystick to launch the ball. So that was super cool. So in terms of the quality of the buttons, the joystick, and the overall aesthetic of the game, it actually looks quite nice. It looks a lot better, in my opinion, than just the naked or native control panel that just said Legends on it. this is actually pretty slick looking. All the games I tested using this control panel worked flawlessly in CoinOps X. The joystick was crisp and responsive. The buttons were mapped the way you would want them to be mapped and worked just fine. So that's all to the good. Almost everything's been good. Are there any negatives? Well, there are two negatives that I just have to mention. One is price. At $200, it's exactly half the price of their ALU mini game, their Tetris branded mini cab. And I think, wow, man, what? That's a lot of dough if it's half of what that is. It's about the same cost as their Gamer Pro, their two-player Gamer Pro series, except that has two joysticks, two sets of buttons, and a whole bunch of included games on there. And that brings me to my second point. There are no included games, game packs, codes, downloads, or anything like that. So once you've installed this joystick and trackball combo over here, you will pretty much have to either be using something like CoinOps X or be playing their games from their online server over at AtGames. In my experience trying to use some of their other stuff like the AtGames Blast console, it really didn't work too good for a couple reasons, because I couldn't change the aspect ratio of it, so it would be quite a small image. And while the buttons and joystick worked for it, there's no start button mapped out to the start button on here. And so I could not easily play games. It's not a real great solution. Could be in the future if there's some firmware for that console that interacts better with this. It's a very minor thing, I understand. I know that many people have those consoles and blast units. But some of us who are kind of all in on AtGames do, and it would be nice if that worked out a little better. But really what I want to see is I want to see them give us a code for at least 10 vertical games. Give us Space Invaders, right? Give us Burger Time. Give us some of the games that you already have the licensing for. Give us a code so that, yeah, we can play some of the games that we have on our ALU. Let us be able to play those games here. If you don't want to go online and use their service, there's no reason to get this at all. Some of us don't have really good internet. You're looking at one of them. But I'm sure I'm not the only one. And so I have a hard time streaming games off of their server, which means I'm pretty much limited to using CoinOps X on here. And CoinOps X is not for everybody. I guess one survey said that 50% of all ALU owners do not use CoinOps X, something like that. So there's a real good shot that someone who just owns the pinball game from AtGames, because you might have a whole bunch of arcade one-up games, but this might be the only AtGames product you own. If that's the case, it would be really, really nice to have 10 vertical games included on this that you could download to the same USB card that you're using for your Zachariah tables. That really would be nice. Heck, it'd be nice if it was even more than 10 games. But other than those two things, price and the lack of included games, there really isn't a whole lot to complain about this unit. It is very slick looking, very smooth in terms of its playing, and realistically is a very easy install. You might need to get a USB extender to make your life a little easier. But if you're on the fence, if you're thinking about it, maybe wait till you can get it for $100. Again, I would like to see this price come down to $150. Even $175 would be better than a full-on $200. But again, if you're a CoinOps X user and you love some of these, like if you're a Golden Tee guy, I mean, boy, this it's really hard to say no to this game. So if you are that type of user, I'd give it a 5 out of 5. I'd give it an A. If you're not, I'd give it a C, you know, I mean, and honestly, it really should come with some codes for some games. That's something that should be dead simple for them to do, and it should not cost them a whole lot, if anything. All right, so that's going to wrap up my review installation of the control panel for the AtGames Legends pinball game. It really is a cool product. I'm glad I have it. And I'm also glad I only paid $100 for it. If you like this sort of content, please give me a thumbs up on the way out. It really does help us here. And please, if you have any interest at all in horror movies or zombie movies, please check out episode 4 of Reanimated this Memorial Day weekend. Love each other. And until next time, I'll see you guys in the Game Shack. Mwah! I just want Space Invaders on here. Okay? That's all I want. maybe burger time. The Space Invaders. Just give me Space Invaders.
Be sure to visit evilgeniusentertainment.com for exclusive content, swag, casting call news, and much, much more.